G'day everyone and welcome to Chris Rankin's Music Crush. Haven't done a video in a while. Work's been super busy and with my work, when I work very long hours, which quite often means the next day I'm pretty tired from working if I do happen to have a day off after a long period of work, so I don't really sort of feel fresh or making a video, but yeah, really wanted to get on and make a video. I've been trying to watch as many of your videos as I can. Been going through and picking channels that maybe I haven't caught up in a while and having a bit of a binge on each channel and catching up on videos. There's a few channels that I watch no matter what when a video is uploaded, but yeah, been trying to get through on that, but I thought, well, haven't made a video in a while. So I thought I'd get on, nothing really new, just a listening video, what I've been listening to lately. Some newish albums, but things that I've had for a while, but I haven't shown before. New releases as always. Some really good ones that came out on Friday. It wasn't the biggest stack, but some things that all will probably end up on my end of year list. Now, a band that really blew me away, a band called Black Sites. They're from Chicago. 2 years ago, 2019, they put out an album called Exile. It was the first I'd heard of them, and I was really impressed with it. Progressive metal, sort of heavy metal, progressive metal. I hadn't heard their debut at that stage. I have since gone back and listened to it. I like it a lot, but the second album was brilliant. So I'd pre-ordered the new album that came out last Friday. They'd already gained my trust with the second album. Halfway through listening to the brand new album, it's called Untrue. It blew me away, and this album will finish very high on my end of year list. Very likely top 10, maybe even higher than that. It is just brilliant. The best way I can describe them, and this is going to be very far away from what they are, but the best way I can describe them is the proggiest era of Voivod. So really the Dimension Heartross, Nothing Face, not really Killing Technology because that's a lot more sort of thrash, but that's about as close. Now, they are not Voivod. They don't really sound like Voivod. No one sounds like Voivod, let's be honest. But that's what you're sort of getting. That's as close. So it's not full-blown prog like Dream Theater, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's about as best I can do. And so the band is called Black Sites, and the brand new album is called Untrue. If you're not sure with my description, I would suggest you listen to it because I'm not so confident that even that best describes them. They just sound like them. They don't really sound like anyone else, but that's about the best thing I can bring you into on them. But yeah, fantastic album. Another album, a very atmospheric black metal album that came out by a band called Alda, called A Distant Fire. Brilliant. Kind of that nature black metal sound like Druff, Panopticon, that sort of feel to it. Brilliant. The sort of black metal that you want to put on in headphones and go for a long walk through the bush or the forest or something like that. Just perfect for that. Great album. Of course, Trivium put out a brand new album this week in the Court of the Dragon. I mean, the album art alone is fantastic, but boy, you know what? If you haven't checked out Trivium in a very long time, this might be the album to do, because I think this is it's only my opinion, but I think this is one of the best albums they've ever made. It's brilliant. It's got a great blend of thrash, groove metal, quite proggy as well. A really good album. A brand new album by the band called Replicant, sort of technical death metal, avant-garde metal, really interesting stuff, quite weird in spots. And another album put out by a band called Atræ Bilis, which is a brutal technical death metal album, really good. And all the other ones I'll put in the link below with a description next to them. So that's the new releases. as I say, not the longest list this week, but a very, very quality list. It was just the ones that I loved, I really loved, and I think they'll be staying around until I do my end of year countdown, my top 100 countdown at the end of the year. I've started culling that list too. I've started culling a lot of the albums out of that. The highest it got was 527. So I reckon I've listened to a little bit over 1,000 new releases this year, probably getting close to about 1,050, a little bit more. And yeah, the ones that I'd saved that I loved in that folder was up to 527. So that's the high watermark. I've culled it down to 420 now, and I'll keep culling and culling. But it's tricky because, of course, each Friday you get brand new albums that come in, and some of them you love and you save, so the number creeps up a little bit. But yeah, so hopefully at the end of the year I'll be able to do a video for my top 100 albums of 2021. So we'll get into what I've been listening to. A real mixed bunch this week, really mixed. First of all, now this is a split. Now this band I have grown very fond of very quickly. Since late last year. The problem with them is it's very hard to get physical copies of their albums. A lot of them are only released digitally. Grindstone Records, I can't presume at all that you would be watching my video, but if you are, you put these albums out on physical and we will buy them, I promise you, because they are something else. Now the band I'm talking about is a band called Old Nick. From California. I'm not really quite sure where they're from. I think it's the Bay Area, but I might be completely wrong. And I think it's a band. I'm pretty sure it's at least 2 or 3 guys. It might only be one guy, but I'm not quite sure. It's not hugely publicized about this band, but so this is a split. This is one of the few things that you can get a physical copy. Some things were released originally on the Bandcamp of Grindstone Records as a physical copy, and once they went, that was it, gone. And of course, 2 days later you see them on Discogs for triple figures and things like that. So I'm not going to be a part of any of that. But when the things are released, I do try to get them. Now this is a split with another band called Hex Clock. Now if you look at the cover carefully, it's a little bit murky, but so you can kind of guess. Well, not guess. You might be able to work out a little bit what you're getting here. But then let me just warn you that you're not even close. I try to describe music as best I can. I hope sometimes my descriptions come across okay. I think I'm going to fail at this one because I love this band very much. As I say, I only discovered them 2020. They've only been around since like 2018, 2019. Put out 4 full lengths, a whole lot of EPs and split. This is a split that came out December last year, which I got, I think 2 or 3 months after that. I can't remember exactly when I got it. And the best way to describe it, so they've got actually 2 albums out this year already. One of them is called Diary of Vampiric Conspiracies, I think it's called. And the other one is called I Am Vampire Castle. Now, a lot of the song titles and all are I wouldn't say silly, that's not quite right. They're quite clever, quite funny, quite clever. It's raw. Well, from what I've heard, I haven't heard every single thing of theirs, but a lot of it is straight up, it's raw black metal. Very abrasive, very noisy, but, and here's the bit where it draws you in, they mix it with other very interesting things. So this one, for example, there's little bits of hillbilly and a little bit of sort of bluegrass, like you're doing a jig sort of sound to it at times. But the bit that gets you, and what gets me, I think, is there's a lot of synth in this album. Now, it's not necessarily the big operatic, atmospheric synth like people with long flowing robes and it's all operatic and it's the end of the world. And nah, it's early mid-80s video game type synth. And you might instantly be thinking, what are you talking about? But it is. And because of that, it's incredibly addictive. cannot believe how addictive their music is. It is the weirdest combination. It is the weirdest concoction. They've done it on other albums. Other albums have other weird things in it as well. It's never just straight up raw black metal. Some of the tracks, you go, oh, hang on, this song, yeah, this is early Dark Throne, this is early Mayhem. But then halfway through the song, there'll be a little catchy ditty that comes through. So some of the songs on here, some really, I'm thinking 1983, 1984, Atari 2600 video game, fantastically catchy jingle sounds that really lift the raw black metal, and it's really abrasive. It's noisy and it's deliberately not well produced, but it's meant to be. But then what lifts it up and brings it out and cleans it up is these catchy video game sounding. They're not from video games. It's just I'm trying to do my best to describe how the melody sounds. But they are synths, and that the sound of the synth is like that. And they're catchy. It's bizarre. I can't think of a raw... I've got black metal albums, many of them, that are quite catchy. But for something that's that raw and abrasive and nasty, I have the melodies going through my head. And instantly the minute and let me just quickly say that the Hex Clock part is good. It's pretty good. But the minute, it's one disc, and the minute the old Nick part finish, I instantly select back to track one and start all over again. It's that addictive. It's catchy as hell. I don't know if I've described it properly, but that's what you're getting. I don't know how else to describe it. Listen, perhaps. All their albums are on Bandcamp, so you can sample all of them. But you've got songs on here called things like Fuck the 17th Century. You've got Haunted Bookshelf of Transylvania. Just brilliant song titles like that. That's just brilliant. Love it. Absolutely love it. And the cover art kind of gives you a bit of an idea that it's black metal that really doesn't take itself too seriously either. Love it. And the two albums that they put out this year, they will finish high on my end of year list also. So cool. So if you've never heard of that band and you want to try, I love AOR, and I love how Metal Theologian on his previous video said how I like Greeno music. I thought that was cool because I do like that stuff. I like things that are very melodic. I like a pop. I like all the things it's not. But I definitely like music that pushes my boundaries, that when I first listen to it, I might go, oh, yeah, I don't know about that. But then there's enough there that pushes, because really that's how I got into death metal. That's how I got into black metal. That's how I got into jazz and other things, because I did push my boundaries. So the music that was pushing my boundaries, I tried it and kept going. And so the next thing you know, that 2 years down the track, that's not the boundary anymore. And I think it's always important to keep listening to things that push your boundaries, because then you keep expanding your music. And I think that's one of the most important things in music. Next up, Vader. I mean, really, I shouldn't need to say anything about this band. They are just brilliant. A bit of a mishap, I missed. So this is my second favourite Vader album, one of my favourite death metal albums of all time. Profundus came out in 1995. It's their second album. Had never been released on record vinyl, never. And a little bit of a mishap, which I won't go into because it's too long. I thought I'd pre-ordered it. It had. The order didn't quite go through, and then I got a message saying it had been sold out. So that's fine, because I've had it on CD, so that's cool. But I've been listening to it again. I'm thinking, as I've hinted before, I'm thinking about doing a Vader ranking. So I've been just cautiously going through and listening to them all, thinking, should I take this on or not? Because I love this band so much. And I don't know whether I could do this ranking without just saying, well, they're all first or they're all, if you know what I mean. I really don't know how I could put one of them at the bottom. The top two, yeah, that's pretty clear. This one and Litany is number one, but I don't know how I would go with putting any of their albums at the bottom of any ladder, because they are just so good. I love this album. This is just one of the best death metal albums ever made. The song Silent Empire, one of their best. Blood of Kingu, so good. Sothis might be one of my favourite death metal songs of all time. You've got Of Moon, Blood, Dream and Me, so good. Of course, I've met Peter of Vader. There he is there, looking quite a lot younger. Really nice, humble guy. Had a good little laugh, and yeah, just by accident, I'm standing by the side of the stage, so I just went up and introduced myself. Got him to sign a couple of things, and he was very humble. Had a great chat, and told him how much I loved the band and how much I followed them. So if you've never checked out Vader, you don't know this band. I've seen them twice. They are incredible live. They are one of the best bands. They really are. The thing I love about Vader is there's no, well, the next album's going to be heavy, or they never wear a shirt that says metal as fuck or anything like that. They don't need to. They don't need to tell you that their next album is going to be our heaviest ever. You just know it. You know that when they put out an album, it is going to be absolutely top shelf, brilliant, heavy as hell, with lots of catchy riffs and hooks, death metal. It's as simple as that. And I think they've got one of the best names ever in metal history. I mean, they named themselves after one of the greatest villains of all time. So there you go. Another album that will finish quite high on my end of year list. This album here by the one-woman black metal outfit called Hulder. That's what she calls herself. I think her real name is Mars. I can't remember her surname now. Mars Reinert or something, but it's definitely Mars. Originally, she was from Belgium. Then she moved to Portland, Oregon. And she does everything on here. And this will be right up there. If it's not in my top 10 of albums of the year, it'll be in my top 5 of black metal albums of the year. It's brilliant. It's quite pagan black metal. There's quite a bit of that in there. It's sort of quite old worldly. It's got that feel to it. It's very well done, very well produced. This is not lo-fi. This is not anything like that. This is a really great sounding album. Some of the best riffs I've heard all year are on this album. The second song, called Creature of Demonic Majesty, the riff on that there, I defy anyone to not start headbanging to that song. It is just a ripper. And there's lots of what's really nice about this album, there's a lot of interesting softer moments. When I say softer, don't worry, there's no ballads, but more, little acoustic passages where it feels like you're in dark times or medieval times sort of thing. There's bits of that. As I say, it is quite pagan. There is a bit of folk about it, but not heavily folk, not really. More a little bit pagan black metal, but it's just fantastic. I just love it. I can never stop playing this. I've had this since, now this came out January, I think it was. It was pretty early in the year, and I got this about a month or so after that, and it's been one of my most played albums of the year. Just absolutely brilliant. So Hulder, the artist's name is Hulder, and the album is called, it's not easy to read with that lettering. I'm going on my memory here, and I'm thinking I'm right. God's Last Ring, Hymns of a Forlorn Peasantry. So there we go. I know it did originally come out on vinyl, but that got snapped up very quick. That was from her Bandcamp page. Got snapped up pretty quick. And I thought about waiting and thought, I can't be bothered waiting. I want a physical copy, so I just ordered the CD. Who knows, they might end up doing a vinyl later on, but I'm pretty okay with this. So, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, records. What have I been listening to? I've been on a bit of a City Boy kick. I've got 3 City Boy albums. I really like this band. I don't see so many people talking about them in the VC. I really like them. That sort of classic 70s sort of rock, hard rock, a little bit progressive rock, a little bit AOR, a little bit pop rock. Yeah, really good. Really, really good. So this is their 1978 album called Book Early, but sometimes people call it 5705 because it's got that there, which is the big single that came out from this album. And yeah, just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant stuff. This is their fourth album, 1978, on the Australian label Mushroom Records. So this is an Australian pressing. I think this is an original Australian pressing, but yeah, definitely an Australian pressing. And just really good, it's just records. I love this band a lot, and as I say, maybe I'm looking at the wrong channels, but I don't see so many people talking about them in the VC. I know one of the dudes on Sea of Tranquility, Butch Jones, I know he's a massive City Boy fan. A good blend of rock, pop rock, hard rock, proggy at times, a little bit AOR. So on here you've got the big single, 5705. Summer in the Schoolyard, probably my favourite song on this album. You've also got Cigarettes, really good song. Do What You Do Well, good sort of hard rocker. And Dangerous Ground, which is sort of quite a bit slower but still very catchy. So yeah, and look at that. Produced by Robert John Lang. So later on he would be known by the nickname of Mutt Lang. So, and you can hear it. It's very well produced, very good sounding album. Love it to bits. Absolutely love it. And also, I've been playing another one of their records. This is it's either Dinner on the Ritz or this that are my favourite albums by them. I'm trying to think how many they had. 7 maybe? 7 or 8. This is their 5th. Yeah, and I think they had 2 more after this, unless there was something that they released. Like maybe they came back and released something later on, but anyway. So this came out 1979. This is probably my, either this or Dinner at the Ritz might be my favourite. But this one's just a bit more hard rocking than I think than any of the others overall. It's got a bit more crunch to it, a bit more grunt to it. Love this album. As I say, this is their 5th album, City Boy. I think this one is... Yeah, this is also produced by Robert Mutt Lang as well. Show the record. Once again, on the Mushroom label, so the Australian press. Pretty sure this is an original Australian pressing as well. Got a really good sound to it. This really, really good sound. Great record, love it. And as I say, just a bit more crunchier, just a bit more grunt to it. The title track, I didn't even say the name of the record. You might have read it before, but it's called The Day the Earth Caught Fire. The title track is probably my favourite City Boy song of all time. It's Only the End of the World, probably one of my other favourite songs of theirs of all time. And another one on it. In fact, the first 3, I was just pausing there because I was getting confused between 2 different song titles. But yeah, another one of my all-time favourites of theirs is a song called Interrupted Melody, which is, I wouldn't say it's a prog song, but it's probably one of their proggiest songs. Really, really, really good song. And on the side 2, they have this long sort of thing here, but it's got a whole lot of parts to it. I don't know if you can see there, different parts to it. And I really love the part there, part 3 of Ambition, called Rev On. Really good hard rocker. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. If you don't know City Boy, definitely check them out. Good 70s hard rock, pop, AOR, you know, that all that sort of stuff. Yeah, City Boy, The Day the Earth Caught Fire. Absolutely brilliant. My Fleetwood Mac kick continues. It's not going anywhere. And why would it? I've been a Fleetwood Mac fan since I was a little kid. And I hadn't listened to them properly for quite a long time. And then back in sort of late June, it just started again. I started listening, and so I just started listening to everything again. This is another reissue, obviously, but I like this. So it's a CD, but they do it in the gatefold. I've got quite a few of these of the Bob Welsh era of the Fleetwood Mac in a box set. So this is Mystery to Me, 1973, which came out the same year as Penguin. So this is their, what would make that? That would make it their 8th album. Let me just count them. Yeah, eighth album. And brilliant. I mean, it's just probably one of their, I won't use the word heavy, that sounds silly, but probably their hardest rocking. Then Play On is definitely, in a bluesy way, hard rocking, but I think this one, especially, there's a few songs on here. You've got The City, really good, sort of crunchy, bluesy, good hard rocker. Miles Away, also another real cracker, like just quite sort of just crunchy, like it really, you think, yeah, Fleetwood Mac rocking out, this is good. I think the single off here was the biggest single. This came out a year before I was born, so I can only go on things that I read or whatever, but I'm pretty sure that the single off here was Hypnotized. And a couple of things that's noticeable about this album, this was the last album that Bob Weston appeared on. And if you were to ask me a quick way to sum this up, this very much is a Bob Welsh, Christine McVie album. So it's their two styles and the way they make music and what they write, it's all over this album. This is all them. So what those two love to do, that's what, because I'm pretty sure they did most of the songwriting on this album. And so you've got the bluesy sort of California rock sound of Bob Welsh, and then you've got Christine McVie, you know, the pop machine that she is, and that's what this album is all about. And really, when you think about this album, when you listen to it, what would come later on, even though that was, I guess, because Buckingham Nicks came in, this is definitely a precursor to that sound, no doubt about it. They just brought a bit of the polish to it, the voices and so forth, and perhaps the personalities, and obviously improved the songwriting, I guess. That's all debatable for whatever your preference is. But the basis for what works on the self-titled and then Rumours later on, and even Mirage and what would continue, you can hear it already starting to come here. Even though Bob Welsh obviously left before those albums came out, this is where that sound was already starting to come along, and I love this album. I love the whole Bob Welsh era. I mean, I love all, well, not all the eras. Tango in the Night is my cutoff, and even then that was starting to, there was some things on there that I didn't like so much. But yeah, if you don't know any of the Bob Welsh Fleetwood Mac era, Penguin and Mystery to Me, Bare Trees, Future Games, brilliant stuff. Absolutely brilliant. Love it. Finishing up. So I've been championing some of my friends here that I keep championing this album, because there's a lot of people that always think that Twisted Sister is always about we're not going to take it, and you know, all the MTV hits and the pop songs and all that. And they're quite fine. I'm not a big fan myself. And there's a few reasons why. I'm not being one of those people that, oh, their old stuff is good, and as always, that I just, if I like music, I like music. I don't care if it's their old stuff, new stuff, whatever. But I did grow up with knowing this as Twisted Sister. And if you've never heard this album, and I'm pretty sure most of you have, it's a pretty well-known album. But this thing is heavy and nasty and dirty, and I mean, the album cover is a complete misguide of what is inside, because this is 1982. Obviously, this is their debut, Under the Blade, and it's nothing like the album looks. It's heavy as hell. I've said this for a long time, and listen to me carefully. I'm not saying this song is a death metal song. Not at all. But I think it is a precursor. And I'm not saying it started death metal, but for 1982, the song Destroyer is about as close to death metal as you're going to get in 1982. It's slow and it's chunky and it's heavy. I mean, heavy. And of course, Dee's voice is, you know, a semi-growl. It's like a proto-growl. For 1982, man, it's about as heavy as you got. You know, there's no gallop in that song. There's no sort of pomp and riding and galloping along. It's down and dirty and, you know, not quite as heavy as the stuff on Celtic Frost, Morbid Tales, but it's halfway there. And remember, this was before that. And, you know, lots of other great songs on here. Sin After Sin, so good. Tear It Loose, awesome stuff. Under the Blade, just brilliant. Just absolutely brilliant. So, been playing this again a lot. I absolutely love this record. And as I say, I do like the later stuff. I like the one that came after this. Come out and play? No, that's not right. That's after Stay Hungry. I'm completely drawing a blank. The one in between Under the Blade and Stay Hungry. Those two are my favourites. I think, for me, and please don't take this wrong, everyone, I think Stay Hungry is a little overrated. And I probably feel that way because I felt like it was getting away from this. The next one that was after this, I can't remember what it's damn called now. These are my favourite two Twisted System albums by a long way. And I think Stay Hungry was just starting to, and I love pop, you know I do. I've shown lots of albums that are pop rock. But it was just starting to get a little bit too far away from this sound. And I think that's why I have a little bit of animosity towards We're Not Going to Take It and things like that. And Leader of the Pack, I mean, no. Because this is what I grew up with. I grew up with this Twisted Sister. This is what I knew. This is what I thought. So when you hear them doing things like this, that is, you know, what I believe and what I will always champion as a precursor to death metal. Didn't start death metal, but it certainly had some of those sounds. And then when you hit, you know, when something comes out like We're Not Going to Take It, it's like, yeah, no. So that's about wraps it up. I know it's probably been a little bit long, so I was going to show these, but I might leave it to next time. So I'll just give you a little bit of a glimpse. Russian black metal, fantastic, came out this year. And Pitbulls in the Nursery, a French tech death band. But I'll leave them for next time, and I'll talk about them in more depth next time, otherwise it'll go way too long. So thanks everyone for watching. I really hope you enjoy my channel, and I'll catch you all soon.